Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie Bergio, and thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are fortunate to have Shannon Spears with us. She will be teaching us about herbs for senior health. Shannon and I are both board certified health coaches, and I'm just excited that she will share her herbal knowledge with all of us. Shannon, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Debbie. It's a pleasure to be here. You know how excited I am about herbs and being able to teach them, so I'm happy to be here. All right. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk with you about herbs and how they apply to senior health, boosting your immune system with what nature provides you. Okay, so a little bit about me first. I've been married for 25 years. I have 3 beautiful children, ages 24, 18, and 15, 2 of which I still homeschool. I have been studying herbs, homeopathy, and essential oils for about 15 years and have been in school for my master's certificate in herbal medicine for 4 years. I teach herbal courses on naturallylearn.com, and I'm also an instructor and the student ambassador at the Institute for Functional Health Coaching. I'm a board certified holistic health coach. I've been practicing for about 4 years. I'm also a licensed ecclesiastical holistic practitioner for the last 3 years, as well as a certified nutritional therapist. Kind of a mouthful. Before we get started, I just want to put a little bit of a disclaimer up. I am not a licensed medical practitioner, physician, dietitian, nutritionist, nurse, or other allopathic medical professional. None of the recommendations or suggestions or written information provided here are intended to replace medical advice of any kind. And the information presented is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. I always recommend that you get full medical clearance from a licensed physician before starting any type of changes, whether it's in your diet, adding herbs, supplements, and things like that, or any type of lifestyle program. All right, so my intention for you today is to educate you on the herbal goodies around you daily, how to use them appropriately, and educate about supplements that are out there for you. I also want to empower you to take back control of your daily health and lifestyle in a low stress way that works for you. I also want you to walk away feeling more comfortable about implementing herbs in your day-to-day routine. A little bit about some herbs, a little history on herbs. So historically, herbs were really the first form of medicine. When, back even in caveman times, if they needed something, they got it from the earth, whether it was plants, it was animals, it was minerals that they were discovering. So it really started over 10,000 years ago. You have other forms of herbal medicine like traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy. Those started anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, and they're widely used all over the world. There's over 40% of pharmaceutical drugs that are made from isolated plant chemicals. 1 in 5 Americans uses herbal products on a daily basis, and that number increases as you go outside the U.S. The first settlers to our country brought healing herbs with them to plant in the new land, as they were attuned to what they were getting back home and wanted to make sure they had that when they came here as well. Over time, they learned more about what was already here from the Native Americans. During many witch trials around the world, people were accused of witchcraft simply because they knew and used the healing power of herbs to help people. Those typically were called hedge witches, but they still were affected by the same persecution, burning at the stake and things like that, simply for wanting to help, different ailments with people that they knew. So the forms of herbal supplements, there's more to just the bottle of capsules that are on your counter that's considered in the herbal world. We have different teas, tinctures, and glycerites. So tinctures are an alcohol-based herbal concentrate. Glycerites are herbal tinctures, but they're based in a vegetable glycerite rather than alcohol. They're also not as concentrated and generally used more with younger kids or older adults. There's salves and lotions. So anytime you've got, kind of that first aid type of salve that you see in the health food store that's made with herbs, beeswax, and things like that, or your lotions that are scented naturally with herbs. Essential oils, of course, we all know about, and a lesser known part of essential oils is hydrosols, when essential oils are being distilled, the hydrosols is kind of the leftover distillation of the full process of distilling essential oils. And they're a lot of times they're water based. So we like to also call them floral waters because typically they're used more with any type of herbal flowers like roses and things of that nature. We have powders, of course, powders that a lot of times can be rolled into with different mediums to make your own types of capsules, or even things like energy bites. A lot of people are familiar with the recipes for energy bites where you're mixing things like peanut butter and seeds and stuff like that. And herbal powders can easily be mixed into those types of snacks. Then you have your capsules. It's important to, when you're looking at capsules, to make sure that there's no additional fillers inside these capsules. You actually want most of the powdered herbs in here. Otherwise, it really takes away from the healing power of them. And then lastly, we have homeopathic forms. So homeopathic forms are, they can be from animal, from minerals, and from plants. And these are in little lactose pellets and have varying different dosages of them and strengths of them, but they are kind of that next level of herbal healing because there's absolutely no side effects to them, and there's so many different things that they can help with. So it's kind of one of the lesser known forms of herbal supplements that people know about. So something I like to educate on. All right, so some cautions when we are using herbs. So herbs are classified as dietary supplements and may be marketed without the clinical trials required for pharmaceutical drugs. They usually carry the statement, "This product is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent any disease." If you have a chronic condition such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, for example, you need to consult your practitioner before purchasing or taking any supplement. And in addition, you don't want to substitute your supplements for your medication. If you plan to use a dietary supplement in place of drugs or in combination with any other drug, you definitely want to consult your healthcare provider first. Otherwise, you could be placing yourself at risk. Okay. You want to be cautious about drug interactions. Some supplements may interact with prescriptions and over-the-counter medications. And taking a combination of herbal supplements or using those products with medications, even those over-the-counter cough syrups and things like that, and Tylenol, can have potentially life-threatening results depending on what prescription medications and other health issues that you do have. Okay. Some supplements can have side effects during surgery. So this is definitely something I like to point out in an older crowd that I'm teaching with, because generally you're having more surgeries than younger people are, right? So you want to inform your doctor about the vitamins, minerals, and herbs, any other supplements that you're taking before elective surgery. Quite often I hear of my clients going, "Yeah, I didn't tell the doctor because it's really not that big of a deal." And it really can be. It can literally mean life or death, because if you're taking an herb that is blood thinning and you don't know that it's blood thinning, you could bleed out on the table while they have you open. So it's very, very important to make sure you're stopping them, or you're at least talking with your doctor so that they can give you an idea of what you do need to stop and don't need to stop. Let's see. And sometimes you need to take them, stop taking them several weeks before that surgery, not just 24 or 48 hours, because they do build up in your system. Okay. Some other cautions: when you're choosing herbal supplements, it's important to get those herbal supplements from reputable companies that do their own research and provide links to that research. An example of this would be going and buying supplements off of Amazon. And a lot of times you'll know who those third-party sellers are because there's no description provided, right? I would rather go to the actual store that maybe the supplement company has on Amazon, or go to their website so that I can find out more information. The research, a lot of times there's third-party testing to tell you that the supplements in the capsules you're buying are whole, there's nothing added, it is what they say it is. So it's very important to take a little bit of time and do that research, not just listen to maybe even the TV, as you've seen on TV ads. You want to do a little bit more research. You take time to educate yourself on those supplements before you take them, and follow those label instructions very carefully. It's
Hmm.
also best if you work with a professional like a master herbalist or a naturopath who has extensive training in herbal medicine. So I'm always recommending to my clients that they talk with their doctor, but then they also have, they talk with a master herbalist or they can connected with a naturopath, so they can go back and forth, especially if they want to focus more on bringing herbs into their life than prescription medications. So they've got kind of the best of both worlds working together. You also want to make sure that you are aware of any potential effects or allergic reactions. For instance, some people who have a ragweed allergic, allergies can't take certain herbs. They can't do teas, for instance, with chamomile because it's in the same family. So those are things to be aware of for your own personal needs.
It's very good to know.
Yes, that was something I had to learn the hard way when I first started working with herbs.
Oh,
Yeah, I am a person who does not do well with ragweed in the area, and there were a couple herbs. I was like, okay, why are my sinuses draining? Like, this was not what this herb was intended to do, right? Well, because I had an allergy to ragweed, so I had to be very careful with those. So, all right, next thing I love talking about, and all of my neighbors think I'm crazy for doing this, but there are so many different misunderstood herbs around you right in your own backyard. I have a backyard that when we moved here, I wanted to make sure that there was no pesticides, bugs, granules, anything like that put on my yard, because I wanted to harvest dandelions and clovers and all sorts of things from the yard to be able to use. So my neighbors always think I'm crazy when I'm out there with a basket picking dandelions. So, but we use them. Many of these different herbs are dandelion and chicory and stinging nettle, chickweed, burdock, mullein. Mullein are those big, tall, lanky looking weeds on the side of the road with the really pretty yellow flowers on them. They're usually alongside a lot of fields that farmers have. Red clover, plantain are those big wide leaves that have the little sticking, the seed sprout sticking out of the middle. And that's plantain, and it's fantastic if you have a bug bite, if you have a burn, things like that. I make a salve out of that all the time for like itching and bee stings and things like that. So many of these backyard weeds, can be used to help detox the body. Dandelion is fantastic for that. A lot of your herbal coffees contain dandelion root as well as chicory root, okay? And they help to detox the liver. Many of them also help with respiratory issues during a cold and flu. They help with balancing hormones, or like I said, with like plantain, being able to use for scrapes and burns and itchiness from bee stings, okay? Most people view, for instance, dandelion as a weed. It just ruins their manicured lawn. However, from an herbal perspective, it is one of the most versatile healing plants available. It contains vitamin A, B6, C, and K, as well as an abundance of minerals, iron, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. And the root of this plant is well known for its detoxifying effects. And it's also a fantastic herb for seniors as it helps to improve bone health. It protects against osteoporosis and arthritis. It detoxifies the liver, which helps aid in digestion. It also helps control diabetes, prevents urinary issues, and promotes healthy skin. Dandelion greens are generally sold in many produce sections of grocery stores now, and they can be used in salads. The dry root, as I said earlier, is often sold roasted and used as a healthy caffeine-free coffee alternative, and it tastes very, very similar to coffee. So some of your herbal coffees tend to get really thick. They have kind of a thick texture to them, but when dandelion root is used by itself, it doesn't have that. It's very close to coffee. All right, so next I want to transition from your backyard to the herbs that are in your kitchen, those herbs that you really have a good amount of access to and can rest assured that they are safe to use every day, no matter what is going on. I'm going to go through each one of these kind of individually, but also in pairs, and let you know of any cautions that you should worry about as well. And then we'll get a little bit more into supplements as we get along, okay? All right, so garlic, turmeric, and onion. Garlic increases perspiration. It helps the body detox. It's an immune stimulant, and it stimulates your white blood cell production, which is very important in keeping your immune system up and rocking and rolling. It stimulates digestion, making it helpful in gastric infections. It's a potent antiseptic, antimicrobial, and antibacterial agent. It's a vermifuge, and what that means is it actually can remove intestinal worms. Okay, a lot of times you will see this with animals, like our cats and dogs. We used to have the brewer's yeast and garlic tablets that we would give our animals, and that's the reason why, because not only does it help with fleas, but it also helps with things like, you know, parasites and things like that.
Wow.
Then it helps lower blood sugar levels, promotes healthy blood cholesterol levels, and it helps prevent blood platelet aggregation, which means it helps promote healthy blood circulation. So in seniors, of course, that's definitely something to be concerned about, because we typically have a lot of blockages in our arteries. We're worried about stroke and things of that nature. So including garlic in your everyday diet is definitely a positive and helps keep that blood flowing. But this is also one of those things where it's promoting healthy blood circulation. So you want to make sure that if you're going in for surgery and things like that, you want to, you know, make sure that you stop that. You make the doctor aware you may eat a lot of garlic and things like that. Onion is also high in phytonutrients and antioxidants. Quercetin, so we hear about quercetin a lot for heart health. Vitamin C, which is an immune booster, and flavonoids. It's antibacterial as well and anti-inflammatory, so helping to reduce inflammation in the joints, in our blood vessels, in our muscles, and it's detoxifying. It also aids in heart protection, cancer prevention. It aids in healthy hair production, and it fights fevers, colds, and flu. So many of you older people may remember, you know, your grandmother or something wanting to put a slice of onion on the bottom of your feet, put socks on. And that is the reason why, because it has an antibacterial, antiviral effect, and, you know, it helps with the fevers, colds, and flus. Also helps to detox. Might not smell the best the next morning, but it does work. It also helps fight depression. And because it helps promote a cheerful mood, it also helps promote sleep. Okay. Garlic should always be taken with food to avoid a stomach upset, because there are some of those people who have gastrointestinal sensitivities, and garlic sometimes can irritate their conditions, and they should avoid that. And like I said before, you should also avoid it if you're on blood thinners, because it does thin the blood more, and also avoid it if you are on antibiotics, because it will enhance the effect of those. Okay. Turmeric is, you know, it falls in line with all of these. It has an anti-inflammatory, it promotes healthy immune system, it helps assist the body with colds and flus and things like that, promotes healthy heart health. It helps also remove mucus from the respiratory tract. We all know all the good things about turmeric. One of the things I like to caution here is that if you are using a turmeric supplement, you need to make sure that it also contains piperine, which is black pepper. That is what actually activates the constituents in turmeric to start working. So if you're taking a supplement that doesn't contain piperine, it's no good. You might as well just throw it out. You're wasting your money. Okay.
Wow. I've only thought of turmeric. I've only seen it as the powder. I didn't know. Is it a tuber also?
It is. It absolutely is.
It's a tuber.
Yep, and in your produce section, wherever you would find your ginger chunks, usually right next to it are the turmeric roots as well, and they're smaller. They're usually only about 4 to 5 inches long, and they look very similar, only they're more orange, whereas ginger is more yellow. So,
okay, it's just it never even entered my mind to think about what it came from.
Yeah, and when you use it, when you go to grate it up or chop it up, your hands will turn orange. Fair warning.
Yes.
So turmeric should not be used medicinally with those who have congestive heart failure. You can use it in your daily diet, you know, to cook with and things like that, but you don't want to use it on a medicinal level in extra supplements and things like that. And you also should not use it if you're prone to kidney stones, gallstones, or bile duct obstructions or certain digestive disorders.
Okay.
All right. Cinnamon, ginger, and cardamom. Now we're going to do some baking.
All right.
So your cinnamon is obvious, it's very powerful and it's a very well researched herb. You know, everyone has it in their kitchen. We use it in baking, we use it in drinks, we use it in lattes, right? It's very well known. It boosts vitality, increases circulation, it clears congestion. You know, when we talk about it increases circulation, unlike your garlic and onion, it's not a high risk as far as watching for, you know, in bleeding and things like that if you cut yourself, or mixing with blood thinners and stuff like that. It increases circulation in a healthy way, healthy, natural way. It's also a digestive aid for those with bloating or sluggish digestion. So if you are eating a meal and you kind of feel bloated afterwards, a lot of times drinking even a chai tea that's got cinnamon in it, or just doing some cinnamon in hot water, you know, that will help with that digestion process. It almost works like an enzyme, like a digestive enzyme. Okay. It helps to stabilize blood sugar levels. It's a powerful antiseptic. You can actually make a wash for wounds out of soaking cinnamon in hot water and letting it, you know, pull all the medicinal values out, or putting it and soaking it in like vodka and using that as an antiseptic wash as well. Okay. It's antiviral and it has antifungal properties, which makes it great for colds, flu, and any type of fungal infections that you have. So if you're someone who struggles with candida, you may notice that a lot of candida recipes, candida friendly recipes, include cinnamon, or they would suggest that you drink some type of tea that includes cinnamon, and that's because of its natural antifungal properties. It's also used to relieve painful menstrual cramps. Okay. Ginger, same, you know, helps reduce inflammation. It helps repair damaged joints and cartilage issues. And it provides circulation, improves circulation in the pelvic region, which also helps it to reduce menstrual cramps. It can also help with menopausal symptoms in that area as well. And it lowers blood level triglycerides. So this is something that's, you know, good when you've got some different high levels of your triglycerides. It's effective for nausea and GI infections. That's something that we probably all know, you know,
Okay.
having some of those ginger chews or ginger candy when we're nauseous, or ginger syrup, right? Ginger ale.
One of my favorite things from Little House on the Prairie is when Laura takes out ginger water to
Yep.
Pa. It's just, when I
Yep.
made that connection, that was like, oh, that does work.
Yeah, it's just something so simple, you know, and many people have around. So it's also used as a decongestant in colds and flu, sore throat, and respiratory infections. So I'm always encouraging people, when we start coming upon flu season and the seasons start changing, to start incorporating ginger some way or another into their daily, you know, their daily schedule, because it is hugely antiviral. There hasn't been a day that's gone by in the last year that my family and I have not had ginger tea. Honey lemon ginger tea is one of our favorites, and we take
Mm.
honey, we take sliced up lemons, we take sliced up ginger, and we pour raw honey over it, and we just let it sit and muddle for a couple of days on the counter, which increases its probiotics as well. And then we just use a tablespoon, you know, in a cup of hot tea. So it's, you know, helps keep viruses at bay, keeps your immune system pumped up. It's hugely antiviral. That mix of that with zinc and vitamin D, and you're going to be pretty well set with your immune system. Okay.
Sounds delicious too.
Yes. And you can add cinnamon to that as well. You know, you can add a little bit of everything. So cardamom is something that is not talked about very frequently, but it's another powerful herb that many of us have in our kitchen. It's obviously, you know, that one key spice in a chai. So those of you who like chai tea, it's antimicrobial, it's antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. It's also used to fight halitosis, or, you know, bad breath. It also fights oral, tooth, and gum decay. So if you have gingivitis, a lot of your natural mouthwashes that help fight gingivitis will have cardamom as its main ingredient.
Hmm.
It helps to soothe sore throats, hoarse voices. So someone who sings a lot, it's good for them to use cardamom tea. It also, the seeds themselves will help soothe stomach and intestines, helping with gas, bloating. It actually encourages the appetite. So those who have a low appetite, Those who are going through different medical issues, their appetite's very low, drinking cardamom tea will help improve that appetite. Same thing with kids who don't eat very much. And it helps with the discomfort of passing gall and kidney stones. It's also a very good antidepressant, and they're starting to do a lot more research on it as far as cancer prevention and anti-aging qualities that it has. Okay.
Wow.
All right, so we're going to switch just a little bit, and we're going to go to our actual cooking rather than.
I cook with those three almost every day.
Yes, yeah, I love these three. So we have thyme, basil, and oregano. Thyme is very powerful. It's an effective disinfectant. I actually use a disinfectant for my home that is made of thyme, and the active constituent in it is called thymol. Okay, and it's very powerful. It's high in antioxidants, and it positively affects the glandular system as a whole, but especially the thymus gland, which is where its name came from. It's used to ward off colds, treat sore throats, and any oral infections. It's also used to treat coughs, chest complaints, and fight against fungal infections. This is one of those things that, many people nowadays and for years have used things like Lysol to disinfect their home. The problem is that there is a huge side effect with Lysol because it does contain Agent Orange or dioxins, right? So if you're spraying that, you're breathing that in, and you're increasing your chances for creating cancer within your body and respiratory infections. Using something like thyme, a disinfectant that is created from thyme, is much safer and has just as much powerful effect on disinfecting areas, if not more. It's been seen 99.9% effective against bacteria, viruses, and funguses that are around your home. So very powerful. Basil is full of antioxidants, antibacterial, and anti-inflammatory properties as well. And it acts primarily on your digestive and nervous system. So it influences the circulation. It helps with gas cramps, nausea, vomiting, but also that nervous irritability, some fatigue, anxiety, depression, as well as stress headaches and insomnia. That's probably the biggest way that many people that I know use it, is for those stress headaches and trouble sleeping. It's also useful in treating coughs, infections, bowel inflammation, diabetes, allergic and respiratory ailments. And it's great as a poultice. So a lot of times, if you're growing basil in your garden, you get a bee sting, you get, those mosquito bites, things like that, and they're really itchy, bothering. If you take some leaves of a basil plant and you crush them up so that they're wet and that you're pulling the liquid out, kind of make a little poultice and pat them around those areas that sting or those bite marks are on, it will take the itch away. Okay. Oregano, also high in antioxidants. It's antifungal and antibacterial, especially against staph infections, including MRSA. Antibacterial properties are enhanced with oregano once it's mixed with silver nanoparticles and effectively eliminates all bacteria. So many of you have heard of colloidal silver. You see colloidal silver sprays, things like that. You can mix the two together if you have something like MRSA on your skin that you're struggling to get rid of. Taking oregano and silver in combination internally as well is very effective for SIBO infections in the gut, in the digestive system, but it's definitely something that needs to be watched by a master herbalist or a naturopath, because what happens is oregano and silver together are so effective against bacteria that when taken internally, it eradicates all bacteria, good or bad. So this is definitely like having a prescription antibiotic, and you definitely want to make sure that you're replacing the good bacteria with those good probiotics, and taking some extra fiber so that you've got the prebiotics for those probiotics to feed off of. Okay. It's also anti-inflammatory and effective pain reliever, and it inhibits the growth of many types of cancer cells. Okay. So some of the cautions with oregano is that it should be used with care, as I said before, but also avoid using it on the mucous membranes because it can irritate them. So oregano is definitely something you don't want to have a tea with Okay, especially if you're using it to try to open up sinuses, it'll become very, very irritant to them. Oregano essential oils always need to be diluted with a carrier oil to avoid skin irritation. Now you can use, if you are someone who has essential oils, you love essential oils, you can use thyme, basil, and oregano essential oils in your cooking, things like those. Those are all oils. When it comes to an oil that is a spice that's in our cabinet, those are oils that are generally regarded as safe by the FDA to use in things like cooking. When it comes to putting them in a glass of water and drinking them, that's where the issue really comes in, because oil and water don't mix. So if you have an essential oil representative that is telling you it is okay to mix essential oils with water, I really want to point out now that it is not okay, because oil and water don't mix, and while you're drinking them, you're getting potent portions of that oil that are getting stuck to all of your different organs, your esophagus and things like that, and they can actually burn holes when it's a hot oil like oregano. Even things like lemon, they can burn holes in your esophagus and the side of your stomach as well. Okay. All right. Rosemary and sage. Rosemary and sage are probably two of my absolute favorite. I generally have two big plants sitting over here behind me. I love the smell of them. Right now I've got seeds popping up, so my window is taken, but they are rosemary is a well-known brain tonic. So it helps with focus. It helps to increase that energy and your memory and things moving in your brain and creativity, okay? It enhances the cellular uptake of oxygen. And so this is where the improvement of memory, the improvement of concentration, the improvement of energy, when our cells are getting enough oxygen and they're able to work properly, especially our red blood cells, this is what makes all of this happen. It's an uplifting stimulant. It eases headaches related to nervous tension, just like basil does. And it also relieves mild to moderate depression. It's a circulatory stimulant, so it increases pore circulation and increases low blood pressure. So if you're someone who has high blood pressure, you don't want to use rosemary. You can use it, in your food, cooking, things like that, but you don't want to take medicinal doses of it because it will increase your high blood pressure as well. Right? It's a mild analgesic. It's an antioxidant. Mild analgesic means it helps with pain. Okay. An antioxidant makes it useful for inflammation in the joints. And it's also a digestive aid. So it helps with the digestion specifically of fats and starches. So if you're someone who struggles with that, adding rosemary into your meals, like with your dinner, will help that, because generally we have, meat and things like that at dinner time. So cooking with rosemary will help break those down for you. All right, sage.
We had talked about before about rosemary. When you have your plants, you just like to.
Yes, when I've got my plants sitting here every morning, I will kind of walk by, and it's kind of like a mini meditation. I've got my cup of coffee or cup of tea, and I'm just running my hands through the rosemary, and I've got some sage and I've got some mint over there as well. And so I just run my hands through, and it's very, very aromatic. I've also got lavender and another one over there. So just kind of that mix of waking up a little bit, smelling it. I love the smell. And of course, that oil tends to stay on your hands as well. So while I'm sitting here working in the mornings, being able to take just a second and cup my hands over my face and just kind of take a deep breath, and be able to relax and refocus, without having to dip into the essential oils all the time, right? I've got it right here.
You got it right there. Yeah.
They're a plant that's very, very easy to grow. So every year I put them in my garden, and then when winter's getting ready to set in, I bring them back into the house. So they don't get overbearingly huge. They're very easy to transplant back and forth, both the lavender, sage, and the rosemary. So I've always got it going. And because I'm using them for a lot of things during the winter as well, for instance, sage and rosemary, I will make an herbal syrup out of them. And so they really help. For instance, sage helps with colds and flu. So any mucus that you have, throat issues that are going on. So the kids get strep throat, they get sore throats, they just kind of feel icky. Sage is one of the first things that we reach for. So having that I can mix with honey, heat it up a little bit, or make a little syrup out of it within just 15, 20 minutes, I've got something to help them out to soothe their throat, things like that. So it's
Yeah.
got the anti-inflammatory properties to it, anti-catarrhal, which means that it's mucus removing, right? So helps with a lot of things. So I love having those things on hand. If I was to recommend
Hmm.
you have fresh herbs all year round, those would be the ones, that you definitely have. Sage is also, it helps in digestion and it helps with liver health due to its bitterness. So any type of bitter plant, bitter herb is going to help your liver detox. It's also going to increase the stomach acid and the release of stomach acid to help you digest things. Okay. It's a mild hormonal stimulant. So sage is one of those things that will help with menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, any of those types of hot flashes and things like that that you have going on. But if you're a new mom, sage is something you want to stay away from because it will dry up a mother's milk as well. Okay.
Oh, wow.
It's also effective for leukorrhea, which is a vaginal infection. Like I said before, it's well-known cold and flu fighter. It also treats canker sores and really any type of inflammation that's in the mouth. All right, citrus and green tea. We wouldn't think of these things as herbs. We wouldn't think of these as being healing in any way and helpful, right? But they certainly are. So obviously we all know that citrus is high in antioxidants, it's high in fiber, vitamin C, right? And because of that, it helps lower blood pressure. It helps lower cholesterol. It has
Mm.
many anti-inflammatory properties, which can help reduce the risk of stroke, heart disease. It also helps with obesity and diabetes. It helps inhibit tumor growth and it normalizes many tumor cells. Okay, so citrus is definitely one of those things you should be including in your diet on a daily basis. Many people have questioned things like grapefruit. Some
Hmm.
pharmaceutical drugs tell you to stay away from grapefruit, and that is very true. So, but that doesn't mean that you have to stay away from limes, oranges, lemons, things like that. There's a constituent in grapefruit specifically that has an issue. Okay. It also, citrus helps to increase appetite. So have you ever noticed when you add some lemon slices to your water with a meal that you're eating and all of a sudden you start getting really hungry?
Hmm.
So it helps to increase your appetite. It can also prevent and remove phlegm from the digestive system and the respiratory tracts. So definitely when they say it's important to, eat an orange or things like that when you have a cold, we generally think of it as just the vitamin C, but there's many other properties in the antioxidants and the anti-inflammatory properties it has that actually helps with removing phlegm and stuff like that from respiratory, from digestive systems. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Green tea, very high in antioxidants. Green tea still has caffeine, so does white tea. Your black tea has the most caffeine. Green tea is kind of a medium, and then your white tea is very, very little caffeine. Okay. So if you need to be careful of how much caffeine you're intaking every day, maybe you need to switch from doing coffee because of its high caffeine. Green tea is another good step to kind of go down to, and then
Mhm.
eventually moving to something like white tea or an herbal coffee that is caffeine free. But it promotes heart health. It lowers cholesterol. It also burns harmful forms of fat in the body that tend to settle into your arteries. Okay. So we've seen a lot of commercials saying green tea helps to boost our metabolism, which it does. It boosts the metabolism. We automatically think that green tea is helping with just the fat around our middle, that extra little bit that we want to lose, right? But it's also helping within the arteries. It's preventing all of that stickiness that's floating through our arteries to stick, okay? Which when it sticks, that's when we worry about cholesterol, we worry about stroke, right? So
Mhm.
being able to have something that helps not let those settle is very good. It's cancer fighting. It encourages normal blood sugar, just like cinnamon does. It's a weight loss aid, metabolism booster. It also supports your healthy digestion. It fights against H. pylori infections. So that's an infection that affects millions of people every year. You always have the Helicobacter pylori bacteria in your gut. It's always living there. But when it gets out of control, it can cause things like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, loss of appetite, bloating, gas, all of these different things. It's very, very common, although most traditional doctors don't test for it. You need to work with a health coach, functional medicine doctor, or a naturopath to get tested for these different things. But it is very, very effective. One of the things, it's something I fought with and had to learn to give up my coffee for a while. And when I found out about the properties of green tea and the fact that it's been proven to fight against H. pylori, I was like, all right, that's my new coffee. You know, so it really helped. And it also helps support a digestive system with those who have ulcerative colitis, which can sometimes be, you know, very painful as well. So if you have ulcerative colitis, you may want to think about adding some green tea. All right, mushrooms. This is the last herb that we will go over today. We all see mushrooms in our grocery store, in our produce section, in many different recipes that we can make, right? And they're not just a food, they are high in protein, but they are also known as an adaptogen. And an adaptogen means that it will help their body adapt to make necessary changes that are needed to actually start balancing the body, okay? So it can help the body adapt wherever change is needed and help it make those changes, okay? Huge antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Immune support, it helps manage blood sugar levels. Some species also help support brain health and cognition and supports the nervous system. Some of them help increase your energy and stamina. Some are a good sleep aid. Like I said before, they're a good source of plant protein. There's only about 25 types of mushrooms that are eaten around the world on a daily basis, but there's actually over 700 types that are used medicinally around the world.
Wow.
So, huge, huge healing properties of mushrooms. A lot of times they're used in traditional Chinese medicine. That's probably who uses them the most, in any type of Ayurveda. But they're still, you know, researching and finding a lot of the properties, healing things that they can be used for. So it's just kind of never ending with them. We're getting ready to probably plant some of our own and grow some of our own different types of mushrooms and everything here. I think I'm going to dig my toes into that a little bit. Apparently it's pretty easy to do, so but yeah, you know, if you're someone who is looking to switch from coffee, or you want a coffee that's going to do more for you, you know, maybe you just have 1 cup a day, but you want to enhance how the antioxidant properties and things like that of coffee. There's a company called Four Sigmatic, and they brew coffee with mushrooms in them, and there's different types that are good for different things, whether it's increasing your immune system, or it's increasing your focus, or it's helping you sleep at night, you know. So they've got different elixirs and things like that that include mushrooms. I absolutely love them. They have hot chocolate for kids and things like that as well. So yeah, it's been fantastic. I'm always experimenting more with mushrooms and as we go along. So how can we implement most of these herbs into our daily schedule, right? We can do it by adding them every day to cooking recipes, healthy snacks, desserts, smoothies, soups, stir fries, baked goods, right? You can also add some of these herbs to a jar and cover them with warm honey. Let sit for 2 weeks and then warm gently to strain the herbs out, and then use just as, you know, by the spoonful, either as is, or add it to teas, add to baked goods, you know, like on toast, things like that. You can also add herbs to olive, avocado, or other seed oils and let them sit for a couple of weeks to incorporate that flavor and pull out the medicinal properties. There's no need to strain the herbs out when you're using an oil. It will continue to infuse into them. You can use them in cooking. You can use it to create your own salad dressings with a little bit of apple cider vinegar and some other types of herbs that you may want to add. You can also add herbs to raw apple cider vinegar. Let them sit for a couple of weeks. You can use them in cooking. You can use them to create those dressings. You can also use it in teas or just consume by the spoonful. One of the most widely known types of herbal vinegars is what we call fire cider, okay? And that is a mix of onions, garlic, herbs, jalapeno peppers, horseradish, ginger, and it's all mixed together, left to sit. But that is something I make for my family, and quite a few people I know make for their family. It's kind of that anti-flu elixir that we take every year. It's like elderberry. You hear about elderberry a lot.
Uh-huh.
And fire cider is very similar, only it's a raw apple cider vinegar base instead. And once it sits for a couple of weeks, generally 4 weeks or so, then I strain everything out and I add about half the amount that I have of the vinegar. I add half of that with honey as well. So it's kind of a sweet sour
Okay.
and a little bit spicy depending on if you add a whole jalapeno or if you just do a couple dashes of cayenne at the end of it, you know. So you can create it however you want. But
Huh.
it is warming to the body, and it is also a boost to the immune system. Um, and when we talk about warming, you know, when we have a fever, that is our body's way of fighting any type of bacterial or viral infection that our body has. When we
Mm-hmm.
take things like Tylenol and Motrin to suppress that fever, our body can no longer effectively fight whatever it is that our body has. Okay. So doing something like this, you know, we usually take like a tablespoon or so a day. I have those little medicine cups that I fill up for the kids and myself. You know, take one of those once a day, and it warms the body up, and it boosts that immune system back into gear and says, be on the lookout. You know, here's some things to help you fight. Do we have anything going on today? You know, it's helping to
Okay.
fight against anything that's coming to you while you're out and about, you know, those viruses and bacteria we're breathing in every day, you know. So it's kind of like that. I like to call it the daily flu shot. Literally, it's
Nice.
hot. So yeah, so it's been very, very helpful for our family and many other families that I know. I've got quite a few families that come and grab some from me. I'm constantly making it year round now. So
We have a guest.
yay. All right. So another thing you can do is also create a tea blend out of the dried herbs. You can use honey or stevia to sweeten teas. There's not really a huge trick to creating different tea blends. It really just goes upon what do you want, you know, that day. What are you trying to improve? Are you trying to improve sleep? Are you trying to have some, you know, a time of reducing stress, you know, things like that? Or maybe you're feeling under the weather and need something to boost your immune system. So there's not really a huge science to it. Just kind of pick and choose the things that you think you need for that day. You can add some dried citrus peels, or some fresh citrus peels. You can add some berries to that tea and just blend and kind of play around with it a little bit. Today, I'm going to give you access to a free ebook that I've created, and that gives you multiple easy ways to incorporate all these familiar herbs into your daily lifestyle from your kitchen, with quite a few recipes that you can try and things like that. All right, so herbal supplements for senior health. Frequently, herbal supplements that are used for those who are 50 and over are typically like ginkgo biloba, which is used to increase focus and memory, ginseng, which increases energy levels and stamina, echinacea is used to boost the immune system, and black cohosh and blue vervain is another one as well, help to balance hormones with those going through menopause or any stage of menopause. Glucosamine, and sometimes we hear about chondroitin as well being mixed with glucosamine to help lubricate your joints and reduce joint inflammation. And then of course probiotics to increase your proper gut bacteria levels, right? It's important when you're taking probiotics to also make sure that you're getting enough fiber in your diet every day, because fiber is what probiotics actually feed on to multiply. And then, of course, vitamins A, B, C, and D. Vitamin A helps with your immune system strength and increases eye health. Vitamin B6 and B12 are, you really want to take the methylated versions because they're best for proper absorption, but they help with your energy levels. They also help to balance some of your hormonal systems and help with sleep and things like that. Vitamin C helps with gut health. It helps with your skin care, tighten up your skin pores, and it helps your immune system. And then vitamin D increases immune system strength. And it's not technically a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. And it helps many different systems in the body. It helps trigger the rest of our hormone responses in the body as well. So very important to make sure you're getting that. As our body ages, you know, we all know that if we go out and we get 20 minutes of sun, you know, that converts, into vitamin D in our system. If we're out there wearing long sleeves, long pants, the sun doesn't really have a whole lot of place to hit our skin to be able to make that conversion. And as we get older, it's harder and harder for our body to convert whatever sunlight we are getting on our skin into the healthy vitamin D levels that we need. So as we get older, it definitely becomes more important to make sure that we are supplementing properly with that. Another one that I thought of this morning that I didn't put on here, and I apologize, is zinc. We want to make sure we're getting a proper amount of zinc. Zinc is huge as far as our immune system. If we don't have enough vitamin D and zinc, our immune system cannot produce the white blood cells that they need to fight properly, and they cannot produce enough natural killer cells, natural killer T cells that our red blood cells use as well. Okay, so very important to get enough of those. A lot of times you'll see zinc in cough drop type form. You'll get them in capsules, things like that. Again, it's just making sure that you get a good brand of that, which leads me into the next one. So when we're selecting herbal supplements, here's some very important things that you want to look for. Since they're derived from natural substances, herbal supplements are generally considered safe. However, just because a product is on the market doesn't mean it is safe for a particular senior who may have a condition for which the herb is contradicted, okay? You always want to consult your healthcare professional before taking any herbal supplement and purchase it from a reputable store or a health practitioner that you trust. Because supplement quality is not FDA regulated, it's up to the consumer to practice that caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. When you shop for any herbal supplements, you want to look for an established brand. Certain companies that have been manufacturing quality supplements for decades, right? The well-named brands that we know, okay? The staff in health food stores are often very knowledgeable about their inventory, so you can ask them questions about herbal supplements that you're considering to determine the best choice for you. Many times when you're in an herbal supplement store, you're also talking with somebody who is a master herbalist as well, okay? So you can always ask for their credentials and, kind of the history of how long they've been doing this. You also want to look at the Latin name of an herb or the common name of the herb you want. Most herbs have more than one species. For example, echinacea. There's several different species of echinacea, but there's only one species that is really good for supporting the immune system, right? So you want to make sure you're getting the right one. The other one a lot of times is used as a cheap filler. It's cheaper for them to produce, so they can sell more of it, make more of a profit, but it's not going to help you as much as the actual species that's good for immune systems. Your customer service information, you want to make sure you always have that on the supplement that you're buying. This should be seen as a toll-free number, a website, or even both on the package. You want to make sure it has recommendations for use. Does the bottle state how much of the supplement to take and when? Are there any other precautions on the bottle as well? What is the amount per serving? So how much of the actual supplement is in each one of those capsules, okay? The latter might say daily value not established for herbs, and that's okay. It's giving you a certain percentage of what that herb is contained in the capsule. That's what you want to look for. Because you may have 4 different ones that you're looking at, right? Obviously, you want the one that has the higher amount of that herbal supplement in there. Other ingredients, a lot of supplements don't contain just the herb itself. They contain small amounts of binders, fillers, artificial flavors, things like that. And if you're unfamiliar with an ingredient, make sure you ask why it's in there before you purchase it. Make sure there's an allergen statement. The product should state whether it's free of common allergens such as corn, wheat, soy, and lactose. For example, they may also say do not use if you have a nut allergy because it's processed in a facility where nuts are processed as well. Make sure there's a lot number on your bottle. If you do not see a lot number and expiration date on that bottle, I would absolutely steer away from it because that company has not taken the proper steps by their regulating overseer to make sure that they can track every single bottle that they send out, okay? Storage instructions doesn't need to be refrigerated. Most probiotics need to be refrigerated. Most omega oils need to be refrigerated. Can you just keep it in a cool place, okay? All right, so last slide here is resources for you. Here's two of some of my favorite books that I started out with when I was starting to play around with herbs in the kitchen. The Herbalist Kitchen by Pat Crocker, and then Medicinal Herbs by Rosemary Gladstar. She literally goes through those herbs you can grow in your garden, you can find in the grocery store that you can use, and the different ways you can use them. And then, of course, the free ebook from me, The Herbal Power in Your Kitchen, which I know Debbie is going to provide for you with a link as well. So let me clear this and I will ask for any questions. Maybe, there we go. All right, and hello again.
Hello again. Wow. You know, I'm ready to, okay, you know me, I'm ready to go out and plant my herbs.
Right.
I'm like looking at the kitchen counter in front of the windows. I have lots of mugs and stuff. They all need to go and just be
right. What can I
replaced by,
plant? You know,
yeah,
you can
what
use
can I do
those mugs.
first?
You can use those mugs to plant them in.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
All right. So any questions?
Oh my gosh, you covered so much stuff, which was great. So you talked about the supplements are marketed without clinical trials. What does that have? How does that mean they're safe, not safe?
So it doesn't mean that they aren't safe. It just means that the pharmaceutical company or the FDA haven't been able to isolate why a particular herb is helpful, right? They haven't found a way to monetize that specific constituent that may be working in there. They haven't found a way to really track any scientific information about them, right? Even though it's been around for 5,000 to 10,000 years, right? They haven't found a way to do it so they can profit off of that. Science doesn't really seem to understand that to get the full healing capability of an herb, you can't separate or isolate those specific constituents and have it work the same way as it does as the whole herb synergistically, right? For example,
exactly. Yep.
Aspirin is something I always like to use as an example. It has the constituent salicylic acid. That is the active compound in aspirin that works. That actually comes from the willow bark. So willow trees and their bark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've isolated the salicylic acid from the bark, it now has to be buffered. So you always want to take buffered aspirin, right? Otherwise it can harm your digestive system. But if you make a tea with willow bark, with dried willow bark, you don't have to have that buffer because you have all of the compounds of that bark which have that synergistic effect, right?
Yeah.
So there's no issues with that because it's a natural buffer.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So I have all my bottles of dried spices. If you know, before I plant them in my teacups. So to use it medicinally, can I use my dried herbs, or how does that?
When
is
it
it better
comes,
to use fresh, or?
yeah, it's most of the time it is better to use fresh. But when it comes to using something like cinnamon, right? We've got our cinnamon sticks. It's okay to use those, right? You're not going to grow a cinnamon tree.
Probably not. Not in Central Maryland. No,
Right.
probably not.
So, you know, one thing I like to educate on is take a look at the herbs in your cabinet. Are they losing their color? You know, when we first buy them, they're kind of vibrant with different color greens and things like that, right? When they start going into that brownish color, you need to throw them out, even if you still have a full bottle and you go, oh, I don't want to waste that $3, right?
Yeah.
It's lost its potency. It's lost a lot of its flavor. It's really not worth it. Fresh herbs are definitely best to use in cooking, flavoring oils and vinegars, for example. When it comes to like teas and poultices, you know, you can use dried herbs. Another poultice example I'll give you is someone has a cough, you know, they've got bronchitis and that cough in their chest. They've got a lot of chest pain from that. Taking ground mustard powder and mixing it with a little bit of water to make a paste and putting it in cheesecloth and then laying it on their chest, you know, and keeping it warm with like a hot water bottle helps to expel a lot of that's in there, you know. So that's an example of something that's a dried powder right in your herbal cabinet, you know, that you can totally use. But many times when we're buying herbs from a regular grocery store,
Okay.
that spice, that bottle of spice, has taken a trip, from whoever grew it, whoever packaged. A lot of times it's other countries, right? It's also taking a process of coming across on a boat, sometimes a plane, but more than likely a boat. So it usually takes 3 to 6 months to get here. Then
Mm-hmm.
it comes to the wholesale stores, before it gets to the grocery stores, to the warehouses and everything. And sometimes it's sitting for another couple of months before it hits the grocery store shelves. Okay. So
Yep.
really, by the time we get the spices, you should only be keeping them about 3 months in your cabinet. That's why we like to
Wow.
buy smaller ones, right?
Small lot. Okay.
But if you have a local co-op that has bulk spices, a lot of times they have like your bulk flours, your rice and beans and stuff like that. They'll also have a shelf of bulk spices. It's much better to get them from there because there's a constant turnover and there's
Okay.
always fresh herbs that are being put in there.
Oh, wow. There's so much to learn. So if I want to work with a professional, who's where do I can come to you. I come to you.
Right, you come to me, but
I come to you.
everybody else, right? Yeah.
And everyone else should come to you as well. But how do you go about finding a professional to work with?
So, the professional, as far as a master herbalist, there is the American Herbalist Guild, and they have a website. I can actually put that in the chat here. But they have a website where you can actually look for a master herbalist near you. And so, let me grab this. You can do that for finding a master herbalist. You'll also get information like, do they have a store near me? Is there a
Okay.
health store, something like that near me that they're working at? So you'll have all that information. Maybe they have a website and things of that nature. And then as far as like a naturopathic doctor, so if you have some bigger health issues, you want to make the transition to more of an herbal medicine approach rather than the traditional allopathic pharmaceutical
Yeah.
approach. You want to work with a naturopathic doctor that has done studies and has that experience with herbal medicine. And you can find that. And the one that I love to use is the Institute for Natural Medicine. And they actually have a button where you can click and find a doctor, and it's all across the US. And theirs is naturemed.org, and I'll plug that in here as well. Their Find a Doctor button is right on the first page. So,
Oh, okay. Great. So where so everyone can find out more information. I mean, I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg of your experience, your knowledge. Where I don't know, do you have other classes like this?
I do. I actually have quite a few that I have scheduled for this year. And I just revamped my website and it just went live this week. So you can find me at shannonspearswellness.com. That website is also included at the last page of the ebook that you'll get from Debbie as well. So you can go there. I'll have a calendar of events up. You can register for webinars just like this one. I'm also got some other things on my plate that I'm thinking about opening up as far as herbal classes and education and things like that this year. So if you go to my website, keep an eye on the calendar and things like that, you'll be able to. I don't have an email list or anything like that yet that you can get on, but it is coming. So just keep an eye on it for the next couple of weeks and there'll be all sorts of goodies and stuff. I also have a group on Facebook. It's a private group that anyone can join. And I do some education there as well. And it's called the Modern Wellness Hub. So,
Okay.
all right.
Maybe I'll even be able to sweet talk you into coming back and doing another webinar sometime this next couple months or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
I love doing this type of thing. I get to share my passion and all of the knowledge in my head and help other people. So absolutely.
Wow. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
I have to go get cooking now. I'm hungry now.
I know. Every time I work with herbs, I'm usually in the kitchen. I'm like, all right, well, let's just make something here, make something there.
Yeah. I'm really interested. Is by any chance the recipe for that fire blend you were talking about. Is
Yeah,
that in the ebook?
it is in the ebook. Yep, it's one of the last things that I put in there, as well as the
Okay.
honey lemon ginger tea. That is in that book as well.
Oh, terrific.
I've got some culinary salts that you can make to add to foods and things like that. Some syrups, some dressings, all sorts of different things.
Okay, wonderful. I looked at the beginning of the ebook, but obviously I didn't. I saw that there are recipes, but I didn't look through them in
Through
detail
them,
yet.
yeah.
So.
Good.
All right. Well,
thank you for having me.
well, thanks for saying yes. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank
Sharon,
you.
you have questions?
Nope, I'm good.
All
You're just
right.
saying.
You
You're
guys
just
have a
saying.
good day. Bye-bye.
Hey, take care, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.